So, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today for the first in our sustainability webinar series in 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you are having a good start to the year and are delighted to have you here for today's webinar on educating the sustainability leaders of tomorrow, Pennsylvania's new STEELS standards. This webinar series is a joint production of the Pennsylvania Green Gov Council and Penn State Sustainability. My name is Peter Boger. I'm the Director for Engagement at Penn State Sustainability. And it's been my great pleasure to have been working on this with Matt and Mark, who will introduce themselves in a second from the Green Gov Council. Penn State Sustainability is the Office of Sustainability and the Office of the Chief Sustainability Officer at Penn State. We serve all 24 campuses in the Penn State system, and it's our mission to try to help incorporate sustainability into the teaching, research, operations, and community outreach and engagement of all of what Penn State does for all 130,000 Penn State students, faculty, and staff. We're a small puppy staff of 14, and we can't do that by ourselves, but we recognize ourselves to be connectors and catalysts and conveners and communicators, all of which is what we try to do here in this webinar series. We recognize we're not the owners of sustainability. We are trying to help empower everyone across Penn State become their own sustainability champion. And that is a similar mission that the Pennsylvania Green Gov Council has. And I will turn it over to Matt and Mark to talk a little bit about their mission.
Yeah, and thanks, Peter. We're really pleased to have this partnership, and it's hard to believe that this is the sixth webinar series like this. And for folks that maybe this is your first time attending, or just as a reminder that all of the past webinars are all recorded and on the GreenGov website for review and reference. And the GreenGov Council was established as the Commonwealth Agency's Lead by Example program. And what we do is promote energy conservation and sustainable governance within all agencies. So our charter sets forth performance goals for the Commonwealth, ultimately steering the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions within our portfolio, and also is like an educational piece and reach out, and which this partnership with Penn State Sustainability means so much to us. So it's a really great opportunity to lift up the goals of both the Green Gov Council and Penn State Sustainability with educational pieces and bringing other folks into the fold. And with that being said, I guess I'll hand it back to you, Peter, and we'll get started.
Thank you so much, Matt. And as Matt mentioned, this is our sixth series, and this series has been designed to try to convene people from all different walks of Pennsylvania life. We have folks here from state government, municipal government, nonprofits, universities, business. And our goal is really to help people see what is happening with sustainability across Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania has got a lot of dynamic and exciting leadership happening in the sustainability space, and to understand just how broad that space is and how it might connect into whatever you're doing. And at its most fundamental, one of the key things that's happening in Pennsylvania is this question of education. We know we need to be preparing leaders for tomorrow for a very changed world, both policy wise and climate wise, and economically, in terms of what's going to be a sustainable future. And so that's why we thought it would be so important to focus on the great work that's happening within Pennsylvania's educational field around changes in sustainability education. And I cannot think of two more qualified and also, frankly, as eager and enthusiastic people that I've ever worked with about their field than our speakers today. We are incredibly honored to be joined by Tamara Pfeffer from the Pennsylvania Department of Education and my colleague Amanda Smith from Penn State. Tamara Pfeffer is the Environmental Literacy and Sustainability Content Advisor for the Pennsylvania Department of Education and the Advisory Council for Environmental Education Executive Director. She began her environmental ed career in 1994 at the Knoll Forest Environmental Education Center. She also served as the first communications liaison for the Pennsylvania Bureau of State Parks from 2012 to 2019. Concurrently, she taught environmental studies, environmental science, biology, and social science and technology at the Reading Area Community College as an adjunct faculty member. Tammy holds an MS in the Science of Instruction from Drexel University and Pennsylvania teaching certifications in environmental education, biology, general science, and instructional technology. She is currently pursuing a PhD in learning sciences and technology at Lehigh University. Amanda Smith is the director for the K-12 Engagement Network in Penn State Outreach. There, she leads Penn State's K-12 strategy to support connecting, collaborating, and building capacity with K-12 school systems and stakeholders in the Commonwealth. From 2017 to 2019, Amanda, formerly the STEM Outreach Liaison with Penn State's Center for Science in the Schools, established the CSATs plus STEM collaborative with 16 school districts across Pennsylvania. Prior to her role at Penn State, she spent 8 years teaching biology in the Loudoun County Public Schools in Northern Virginia. Amanda earned a BS in biology and science education from Penn State and has a master's in education and educational leadership with a K-12 administration certification from George Mason University. It is my great pleasure and delight to welcome Tammy and Amanda to speak to us today. And I believe Tammy is leading us off.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Peter, for the wonderful introduction. And thanks, Matt and Mark, for allowing Amanda and I to share some of our enthusiasm about our programs with all of you. So I understand that we have a mixed audience today. So I'm going to do a little bit of background, and then we're going to talk about how we can partner with organizations like Penn State and how maybe some of you from the community can help support as well. So a quick overview of what we're going to be doing is looking at the standards very briefly. There are a lot of slides that I am going to gloss over, but they will be available for you to view following as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the transition tools and some of the projects that we have going on across the state and some of the needs that our educational community also has related to needs for professional development, as well as areas where they can help you all understand. So in Pennsylvania, we have several guidances that mandate that we have environmental education. So that includes the Pennsylvania Environmental Education Act, the National Environmental Education Act, and then within our state's constitution, we also have wording that states that people have a right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of all of those components. It's really important to understand that my agency, DCNR, Conservation of Natural Resources, and DEP, we all work very strongly to ensure that that constitutional piece is upheld. So our new standards were written beginning in 2020 and approved and ratified by the legislature, which was a very bipartisan ruling in 2022. So our new standards use the next generation science standards as their basis. But as many times in Pennsylvania, we want to improve. We want to improve and put our own stamp on things. So in Pennsylvania, we moved beyond just having life sciences, physical sciences, and earth-based sciences. We have an entire suite of standards that is called STEELS, which is science, technology and engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability. So the two new parts that many people might not be familiar with are the technology and engineering and the environmental literacy and sustainability components of the standards. We're going to focus primarily on the ELS, which is how I abbreviate the environmental literacy and sustainability. But understand that the environmental literacy and sustainability standards were designed as a unifying component through which you can bundle all of the other standards. So digging a little bit deeper, each of our standards is broken into three components: a disciplinary core idea, which are what most standards used to be. It's the main concept that you need to know. Within our standards, we also look at science and engineering practices. So if you are from the field and have experience in training people on how to do your protocols and understanding the dynamics and the literacy within your work, then you need to understand the science and engineering practices. Concepts that are cross-cutting concepts, we'll dig a little bit deeper into those, are also essential. And that can be anywhere from patterns to change over time. So our standards were written fresh and brand new, the ELS standards. We use guidelines for excellence from the North American Association for Environmental Education. We blended in components from the four-dimensional education program from the Ecological Society of America. And we used a framework that is put out through the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Agency, NOAA, called the MIWI. And that's not phonetically correct, but that is what it is. And it's the Meaningful Watershed Educational Experience. In Pennsylvania, we call it the Meaningful Environmental Literacy Experience. So components from all of these were written into the standards. And just as an example of how we have the disciplinary core idea and the practices and cross-cutting concepts, I'm going to use my mouse to highlight. But investigate is the science and engineering practice. Perspectives over the use of resources and the development of technology is the core idea. And then cross-cutting concepts are change over time, resulting in conflict over the development of societies and nations. So each of the standards consists of those components. In Pennsylvania, we're very unique. In the ELS domain, we primarily have a set of 9 components. So we have 3 main strands or 3 subdomains. So agriculture and environmental systems and resources. Within that subdomain, we have agricultural systems, environment and society, and watersheds and wetlands as topic themes. In the next section, we have environmental literacy skills. Then we look at investigating environmental issues, environmental experiences, which would be outdoor experiences and/or lab planning, and evaluating solutions. And then this is my favorite strand personally, the sustainability and stewardship strand. And that looks at environmental sustainability. At each grade band, there's a different standard. We have environmental stewardship. And then we also have a strand of environmental justice. And if you remember, I mentioned earlier that these were ratified by our state legislature. And this was passed through with no discussion whatsoever. Everyone unified in their approval of these. So when we look at interdisciplinary practices, what we're trying to do is understand that there are multiple perspectives in which we can study and understand our world. So you can use the sciences, you can use traditional environmental education, or you can use the lens that has to do with technology and engineering, or agriculture education as well. We try to bring all these pieces together so that students can look at our world and they can see differences and understand their space and place through proper scale and proportion, how they affect systems, how energy moves, understanding that there are common structures and functions, but then there are very diverse structure and functions and adaptations. Understanding as well that change and stability sometimes work hand in hand and sometimes they're opposing forces. So with all of our standards, I just wanted to lay out for you. We have a resource that is called the Standards Aligned System. And Peter shared a link to the PDE SAS already where you can find the standards. Just a quick little introduction to how they're laid out. At each grade band, we have demonstrations of what the skills are. We have clarifying statements that help give a little bit more context. We help try to provide a Pennsylvania context. And then we also link to other standard areas. So if you want to have a very interdisciplinary approach, environmental literacy and sustainability is automatically interdisciplinary, but a lot of educators or people who work with professionals in different disciplines want to understand how they can link the standards. So we provide connections to other content and practices. So I'm just going to move ahead a little bit here. Within the science community and within the sustainability community, it's really important that you understand that there's multiple places where you can have activity investigation. We try to centralize everything into a real world setting. We encourage throughout the STEELS standards the idea of analyzing both data that is supplied by agencies like DEP or collection of data and or citizen science collection of data. We actively include claims, evidence, and reasoning in all of the discussion points, whether you're determining whether there's an issue or not an issue, or whether you're making a recommendation for a solution. And then we also look at how you collect the pieces of proven theory and then formulate your own hypotheses into how something is working, how a phenomena, what are the dynamics of a phenomena like weather change or something like that. So we are really promoting local integrative inquiry. We are looking at places and people who are willing to help host field experiences. So if you come from a world where you are able to invite students into your school or go into their schools, invite students into your organization or go into schools, that's a fantastic way to help support this work. We are looking at places where students can do action design and or technology design. So if you have access to those resources and have an outreach program with your local school or don't yet and want to start one, that's an excellent place to do this as well. We are also looking at places where we have needs. And if your organizations have resources that can help support the following needs areas, this would be a fantastic resource. Or if you want to better understand educational processes, we have people who can help community partners understand that better as well. So we're really trying to get people to understand that a full inquiry has multiple components, and you don't have to have the same people in all of the components. We have issue definition, we have outdoor exploration, synthesis and conclusions, and then action, design, and project. So that would be one way if you can help with any of those components. We also have educators who are in need of training. Every 2 to 3 years, we do a statewide survey of it's self-report, but we find out where educators are, what they think their needs are, and then we try to find partners to help educate them. So in the non-formal world, some of the key things that they need assistance with is understanding air quality, understanding energy efficiency, how to use technology in outdoor education, understanding GIS, geographic information systems. In the formal education field, interestingly enough, we have again, a need related to air quality, related to sensors, sustainable design and green technology. Oh, what a surprise. Um, so we have a lot of areas where educators feel that they could use some content and or procedural support. So if you are in a position to assist with that or know somebody, please let us know. We can help you find partnerships. Um, Across the state also, we have teams of environmental educators, science educators who are part of a Pennsylvania Environmental Literacy Network. And they are sharing through these next two slides where they feel they could assist others in training and understanding. So we have some particular things related to watershed education, to diversity, ecology, natural history, but we also have some methodology support that our non-formal and formal educators could provide, including things called interpretive skills, so that you are engaging people in discovery without just lecturing. Um, so looking at understanding our educational community in Pennsylvania is not just about the Department of Education. It's not just about individual agency organizations. My position itself is paid for by 4 agencies because the Commonwealth understands the importance of environmental education. So we can do things together as state agency, but it becomes even better when we have people in our community who help create sustainable and systemic programs to support green and healthy school partnerships. And one of the ways that we can do that is by sharing resources on the standards aligned system. If you have things after you log in and check it out, if you have things that you want to share to the educational community, I can share them. We also have information about how to create a storyline based on your particular environmental themes. If you were working for organizations, say, that processes forest products, well, we could come up with a whole curricular support strand to do that if you were interested in working with us. We also have something called the Green Schools program in Pennsylvania. It's Pennsylvania's pathway to green schools. And we are trying to get as many of Pennsylvania's 500 school districts to become a green ribbon school, which is a U.S. Department of Education designation. We have a template that helps and encourages schools to find partners in the community and create very integrative curricula that addresses our standards, but also addresses things like reducing environmental impact, creating a healthy environment, reducing food waste, and then a curricular integration, which is part of the Green School program as well. And Amanda's going to be talking a little bit more about school districts that are working towards those goals. We also have a fantastic community across Pennsylvania through the Pennsylvania Association for Environmental Educators called Find EE Near Me. And you can find local community partners. If you don't know who is on the ground in your local area, this is a great place to check. Second place to check after you've already tried here is reaching out to me. We also, again, these resources will be shared, but we have information about the Environmental Literacy Network. We have a Gateway to Green webpage, which is kind of a clearinghouse for multiple agencies and nonprofits. We have amazing resources through DCNR, and we have opportunities for partners to work with schools or intermediate units to through NOAA BWET grants as well as through DEP environmental education grants. So, we're looking for schools and school partners and combinations all across the board. So, basic takeaways: environmental education is founded in strong research, strong academic research that has been going on for well over 50, 60 years. We use a nationally recognized framework as well as the template to help schools design their sustainability planning. So we'll do the questions and answers later on, and I'm going to pass it to Amanda.
Hey, thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me. Let me make sure I can share screen here. Great. So I'm Amanda Smith. I am the director of Penn State K through 12 Engagement Network, helping to build out more opportunities and connections and resources with Penn State to our K through 12 environment. So a little bit behind my vision and the work that I'm doing as I lead into thinking about the Sustainability Summit that was developed with Penn State Sustainability. First off, everything that I'm doing is to really help connect, collaborate, and build capacity with school systems with Penn State. As the land grant institution, we have a strong priority to really work with communities and schools to really look at their needs and goals and look at what can Penn State do to help further and better our society. And so part of my vision is, as a large university, how can we better connect in with schools? What kind of partnerships can we build? And what is being faced with schools? What are the challenges and needs of schools that we can make sure we're aligning our resources and outreach efforts towards? Alongside me is a great partner in Penn State Sustainability, Peter Boger, who you heard near the beginning here and is part of the Green Government Council work. Penn State Sustainability is really working hard to make our operations very sustainable, become 100% carbon neutral by 2035. They also work with communities to really help look at their strategic priorities and their plans to be more sustainable and resilient. And with schools being in communities, it's also an area of need that they are working towards as well. So they've been a great partner in this work that we've built called the Sustainability Summit. So part of my efforts, part of the work that I'm doing around working with school systems is building capacity. How can schools connect in with Penn State? We're very large and it can be very confusing on who to talk to and where to go. The first thing that I thought of that is needed is really creating these large scale kickoff events, which I call these Penn State K through 12 summits. And so the overall goal is to create these multi-day events that build a foundation in improving university school relationships and showing schools a way in to show them who are the many colleges, departments, partners, units that might be able to work with you over time, no matter what your area of need. We know that there are some critical things happening in K through 12. Having a partner like Tammy, the PA Department of Education, very critical partner to understand what's happening in education. What are we seeing? What's changing? What could they use more of? So we know that some of the big key topics, AI, entrepreneurship, health and wellness, cybersecurity, sustainability are all big topics that schools are facing. So we knew that when setting these summits out, that they would involve our multiple colleges and campuses. And they could indirectly strengthen and diversify our recruitment and retention efforts with K through 12 in collaborating with schools in a new way. It's also an opportunity for us to create some experiential learning or engaged scholarship opportunities for our students, getting students that might be working on a grad school projects on energy efficiency, how they might be able to work with schools that they're facing energy efficiency in their operations. How can we start building those connections so that our graduate students have an opportunity to work with schools in a new light? And leveraging some of our existing programs and resources for a really wraparound support efforts to schools. We have a lot of various resources and opportunities really wanting to make sure that we can maximize how they're being used and where we can help. And so the first big event that we kicked off last October was the K through 12 Sustainability Summit. Starting in sustainability was really critical. It was really just a perfect opportunity because Penn State Sustainability is a strong partner. They were ready to work more collaboratively with schools. And also what Tammy just shared is sustainability is now built into the new STEELS standards with a place-based localized approach and putting students at the forefront of developing their understanding of science and engineering practices through actionable projects, through understanding local phenomena. So it was a perfect timing where it's built into the standards and our team was ready to tackle sustainability and help collaborate with school systems. And so the Penn State K through 12 Sustainability Summit happened. If you've ever been to Shavers Creek, it's a beautiful area. Part of Penn State happened at Shavers Creek and different sectors up at Penn State University Park. But we brought in 45 education leaders from approximately 20 school districts and school systems to collaborate with our Penn State community focused on sustainability. Our goals, again, were to make sure that we could start aligning opportunities to create projects that the university could work on with the K through 12 community meeting their needs. It could indirectly strengthen and diversify our recruitment and retention efforts, but also it was looking also at supporting schools as they integrate sustainability as part of the new STEEL standards. And the North Star is how could they look at all the requirements of the green ribbon school status and think of this as using it as a blueprint or a framework in developing their own sustainability plans. So we knew we needed to bring a lot of partners at the table. And so Peter Boger and I really went through many, many units at Penn State to see where are they working on sustainability or doing some K through 12 outreach that has something to do with sustainability, environmental justice, anything that has to do with water, watersheds, climate change. These were all areas that we looked at and thinking about bringing the right partners in. Some partners have a turnkey approach. They are ready. They have outreach activities and programs available, such as the Center for Science in the Schools, have a Kid Wind and a Solar Renewable Energy Challenge grades 4 through 12, where students have to build a wind turbine, or they're working on building out solar energy homes and competing in regional and state level competitions. We also have a group like the Facilities Engineering Institute and the College of Engineering. They are almost like a third party group that can come in if a school puts out contracts for bid and they're looking at, they get in 20 contracts to put in a solar panels in their school. The Facilities Engineering Institute can help field through those contracts and help them look at where are you getting the most bang for your buck, or who's going to be the most energy efficient for your needs. So they can do a lot of great things as a third party facilitator and helping with energy contracts with schools. And then many other groups that might be doing research or outreach, but they're saying, you know, we'd love to work with schools in this area to help them think through a new project, a new idea, and what do we have that might be able to be implemented in the classroom. Other external partners that we brought in, KnowledgeWorks, they're an outside organization. They're an educational research organization that looks at future forecasting. Where is education going? And how can we create more personalized approaches to education to meet our students' needs? In this case, we're really looking at taking that student and thinking about how do they understand their own local environment? How do they understand the local issues happening that can be turned into opportunities that they can collaborate on? So as Tammy mentioned about thinking through opportunities and the work that you do, is there opportunities to work with local school systems, even some co-op approaches or shadowing approaches or activities that can be brought into the classroom in a new way as we think about renewable energy careers and where do we have gaps and where do we need to fill those gaps is also an important area. So KnowledgeWorks was really able to help us look at student personas and taking the lens of a student and what did they know about their own local environmental areas. We also brought in Smart Comps. This is an organization out in California They really found a strategy to print any kind of nutrient onto disposable cups. But really what they're doing is finding ways to leverage not transporting liquid storage. So it has the capacity to transport things across the globe without using a lot of energy, because all you would have to do is add water. So they were an interesting group to bring in to give schools an understanding of some companies that are out there that are really making strides in the sustainability world. And also we brought in Sustainable Development Solutions Network. They are part of the United Nations. And they have a group called Global Schools, which develop curriculum around the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, that we're going to be working with as well to think about what kind of resources can we get out to our Pennsylvania classrooms. They work across the globe, over 100 countries. We'd really like for them to start working with us in the US. And again, this was made actually possible from, and Tammy mentioned this as a grant, the Department of Environmental Protections gave us a grant to start working with school systems to help them with their sustainability plan and think about how they can utilize Penn State resources in the work that they're doing, and also through the Pennsylvania Department of Ed. And so the schools that we brought in, you can see that from the map, they were from all over Pennsylvania. We actually had 21 school systems, including 3 intermediate units that were from urban, rural, and suburban areas across Pennsylvania, as well as 45% of those school systems are serving students from environmental justice areas, which means that in one of those parameters of being an environmental justice area is a low income community. And so almost half of our schools were from those environments, and they're really thinking about how do we build in more sustainability into our schools. Some of these are from coal mining communities, and they're thinking about changing from non-renewable energy sources to renewable, and thinking about those career changes and what could that look like, and how can we help our youth as our Commonwealth changes as well. And so from the beginning, as we really dove into what schools need, we heard from all the schools and some of their critical areas of need. One, there has been some sustainability efforts. Energy efficiency is one of the largest areas that one of the districts were saying is a problem that they would like to work with on, both in operations and curriculum. They saw that sustainability is sporadic. There is not a necessarily vertical alignment yet across all the grades, and comfortability level of teachers being able to teach it as part of the work that they're doing. And they really wanted to see ways of how can students take action locally. That was a really key thing. Local kept coming up over and over again. And thinking about things that they could be doing. This one group said that, even Earth Day is largely ignored in our district. How can we help make changes to that? And thinking about how do we make school-wide sustainability goals. Our district is located in small towns. Living sustainability is not a priority. How can we make these changes? So this is not even just a school problem. It is a community problem that they're looking at. And we want to make sure that we can help look at how can we tie local areas and local work that's happening to these schools, not just with Penn State, but help them explore these local contexts. So this was a great opportunity to meet with you all today and thinking about new possibilities to build partnerships with schools. And so with that, I want to show you a quick 3-minute video that really harnesses the essence of what we were aiming to do as we started with the Sustainability Summit.
It was our vision with Penn State Outreach and our partner, Penn State Sustainability, to bring together educators from across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as sustainability is being built out into their curriculum and important for their schools as we think about an operational approach and a curricular approach of improving sustainability. There's a lot of assets and resources that we can bring together to help them think about how are they going to improve sustainability in their schools for the future of our children.
Thinking about the whole pipeline of students starting from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade into college and beyond, Penn State is really well positioned to think about how do we help them on that whole pipeline on their journey and help them feel like they are empowered to be citizens of a sustainable future, not victims of a future where they don't feel like they have any agency.
We actually have 24 schools from all across Pennsylvania doing different things, different communities, probably rural, urban, everything in between, that are represented here today, but all driven by the same ideas.
What I see from this K-12 Sustainability Summit is unlimited potential. We have varied stakeholders from all walks of life across the Commonwealth and beyond.
Start to imagine, what would you like sustainability to look like at your school as you're looking out 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? What does sustainability mean for your school or your district?
Being able to connect to the experts and resources here at Penn State has been really phenomenal. Just tons of projects that we're brainstorming right now that we can definitely connect with Penn State and hopefully bring in the experts and resources needed to bring these ideas to reality.
How do we scale? How can we support with Penn State as a great asset as the land grant institution, but also with other higher education institutions that are across the landscape in new ways?
This program is giving those innovative teachers who recognize that their students need to have that agency to change. This is giving them new methodology on how to approach this topic. And it's also giving them the background and the muscle and power to enable them to advocate for this type of program in their schools.
How do we continue to push on this really important message of sustainability?
How do we do better with education and connecting the dots and helping our students have those critical skills to solve the problems that we're seeing in front of us?
How do we actually impact change?
What do you need? How can we help you?
How many lives were changed after this? How many people were inspired to do new things and to see sustainability and its importance in a new way?
I think collectively, by working together, we can in fact make that difference.
We are Penn State!
So with that being said, from this two-day event, we found that 90% of the schools that attended established a new connection, a new opportunity, something that was, not already established in their school, and thinking about how that new partner could help them develop their vision. 77% are expected to result in some kind of collaborative action after that day. They're doing extensive follow-up right now. We're working with them actually throughout the year to continue that momentum as we go. And so Peter Boger and I have developed the Penn State K-12 Community of Practice on Sustainability. From this event, we're recognizing it was almost like just a lot of information, a lot that they gathered, but now we're taking a deeper dive into the resources that made sense for them and interested them in thinking about what can come next. So we're working with them to support those new partnerships and understand more about those resources as they develop their action plans from that event. We're piloting and refining what the global schools curriculum can be tied to Pennsylvania and our sustainability aligned resources that make the most sense with our schools. Again, from both what Tammy and I've said, you heard a lot about agency and localized context. We want to take this global schools work and see how can we add in the layers of what that means to Pennsylvania as we think about sustainability. And then focusing on topics and also resources to share with them around climate change, water conservation, sustainability practices, the SDGs, and really integrating those STEELS standards. So we want to be here for a support. And when we think about even moving into next year, we're going to continue working with these 24 school systems and bring them back again as they keep developing these plans, but also we'll be looking at doing some regional events as well, so they understand what's happening in their own local context and what other resources could they bring in as they think through how can we empower our students to take action and apply what they're learning in the classroom to work alongside their community. One great example I shouting out to, if you're in Philadelphia, Lankenau Environmental School does some co-op opportunities with all of their students junior year. We have students that are looking at how to create a Christmas tree farm on their property. So not only is it entrepreneur, but they're looking at how to use their land in different ways. And so my job is to think about what resources could we tap at Penn State. We have a strong forestry program. We have a lot happening as far as Penn State Extension resources. So what could I help them as they start developing that plan themselves? And that's one example of an area that schools are focusing on. We definitely have schools that are looking at pollinator research gardens, and some that are looking at building out more with aquaponics and hydroponics. So there's a lot of various unique projects that could really not even just look at one grade level, but multiple grade levels. So it's pretty exciting work that's starting to take shape. This is definitely a marathon and not a sprint that I should bring up. This is going to take a lot of time and effort, but really uncovering what can we do to support the needs of our Pennsylvania schools. And so lastly, thinking more about how could you get involved? We definitely heard from teachers that they want to empower their students and create more student action projects, especially in the middle and the high school level. So what might you, if you're working at a local government, a local organization, are there things or resources or opportunities that you could give to your local school or collaborate with them? And both Peter and I would be happy to talk to you more about this and think about how to connect in with these 24 schools. It would be a great asset. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to the Green Gov Council to think about questions and answers for both Tammy and I.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Tammy, for those great presentations. As we mentioned,